The business of keeping us safe. Cybersecurity, surveillance and data storage are all sectors seeing spectacular growth. But in an increasingly tense and complex world, how secure should CEOs really feel? Welcome to The Exchange. I'm Guy Schoen, bringing you the biggest news and interviews from all around the business world. Now, life in our internet-enabled, hyper-connected world can feel scary at times. In the last few years, we've seen a rise in geopolitical tensions, and reports of cyber hacks and attacks seem to be happening with alarming regularity. The job then of staying safe obviously now means so much more than locking our doors at night. And for the bosses of the world's biggest companies, doing business securely has become more complicated than ever. So let's take a look at some big issues causing bother in the boardrooms. Well, throughout 2023, government privacy and protection regulations are predicted to reach more than 5 billion citizens. Staying compliant with the latest data protection laws across different countries can require intricate and exhaustive planning. In fact, government regulations requiring firms to provide consumer privacy rights are estimated to cover more than 70% of global GDP. Clearly, all major issues for businesses to contend with. So how cyber secure are big businesses? Well, let's now speak to someone on the front line of the fight to fend off digital threats. Cybersecurity expert and managing partner at SBS, Augusto Coriglione. Augusto, welcome to the show. How safe is cyberspace then? Give us a sense of what CEOs are dealing with day to day.
Generally speaking, cyberspace is safe enough. Even if we have to say that cyberspace has no boundaries, no limits. Back to the real life, day life, we have to say there are thousands of attacks or cases or accidents every day. And also there are some others that are detected but not reported by companies or authorities because they don't want to create panic or misinformation to their users. But it's very, very important to understand that we have also some other kind of attack. So it's not really an attack. They enter your system, your network, and they stay there silent to get information.
Some stark warnings there from Augusto Coriglione, but businesses aren't facing these challenges alone. Governments also have a huge role to play in keeping us safe. Well, I visited Dukan Air Base here in Qatar and spoke to Air Commodore Bigadike and Captain Bouchade to find out how teamwork between different countries helped everyone stay safe during last year's FIFA World Cup.
Bringing in the other partner nations, the US, Italy, France, Turkey and Pakistan, as a group we worked extremely well together. Qatar were very welcoming and open, and I think that really helped in establishing a very effective security operation, keeping the event safe, secure and successful.
Do you see a close relationship between business and military organisation?
I think the military, particularly the Royal Air Force, have always had a very close link to business and technology specifically. So I see that only increasing as we get more and more complex technologies and we incorporate those into our assets. So I think defence engagement is a growth area for us. We're very keen as the UK to work with our international allies and partners on these sorts of projects. So I think it's only going in one direction.
Well, Captain Talal, thank you so much for joining us on the show, and thank you for welcoming us here today.
It's a pleasure.
Can I ask, as you reflect back on last year's World Cup, what are your main reflections on how that went from your perspective, given all the different people that you had to collaborate with and work with?
Over many years, we collaborated and cooperated with a number of global security partners to ensure that we would be ready to host the World Cup. And now, as it has successfully passed, all the knowledge sharing that occurred, the experiences that were also shared, they will always be applied in future for our future references and hosting any global events or any global sporting events.
Some important analysis there on how international cooperation is keeping people safe. However, it's not only big businesses and governments that need to adapt to the challenges of cybersecurity. With the modern day virtual world, members of the public must also take precautions in order to ensure they're safe while surfing the net. Well, I caught up with Laurie McLaughlin from the multi-billion-dollar tech company Launch Darkly, who says even though people might be concerned, there is a huge amount of security protocol in place to combat these problems.
I think they're quite right to be concerned, absolutely. But I think that with the evolution of cloud has come the introduction of a huge number of different safety checks and protocols, adherence to data protection laws, for example. They still have a choice. They certainly do not need to consume all of their services, but certainly, if 94% of all businesses are using cloud, that tells you that, there's a huge amount of safety being built into everything that's delivered via the cloud.
Interesting stuff there from European Vice President Laurie McLaughlin, outlining the security procedures that data hosts use online. Now it's time for our regular feature, Business in 60 Seconds. Start the clock. Pharmaceutical giant Johnson & Johnson is set to publish its first quarterly earnings of 2023. In the aftermath of the COVID-19 pandemic, pharmaceutical companies are seeking alternative methods of keeping revenue high, with Johnson & Johnson pinning hopes on a new drug to treat the dengue virus, which, if successful, could be groundbreaking in tackling the disease. From pharma giants to banking giants, JP Morgan is also set to unveil their first quarterly results of the year. The American banking behemoth will publish their results during a time of concern for the US banking system with the collapse of SVB. And will it be refreshing news for Coca-Cola shareholders as they meet this week for their first annual conference of the year? The soft drink company is preparing to release their quarterly results after a strong finish to 2022. Their shareholders will be hoping that their stock market performance continues to sparkle. Not quite sparkling, but definitely a secure performance. Now, the business of keeping us safe is booming. Decisions about our safety, whether in the corporate boardroom or in the cockpit of an aircraft, are being made with millions of data simultaneously. It's the state of constant connection that creates the commercial opportunity. But with 5 billion people now protected by some kind of data regulation, scrutiny of those we trust to keep us safe has never been greater. Well, that's all we have time for on this edition of the show. Thank you for watching. Please do check out euronews.com for all your latest business news, and join us again next time on The Exchange.